From a giant anaconda that got in a fight with a black panther to a massive serpent that invaded a Texas Walmart, here are 10 of the biggest snakes ever and the strange and unusual places they've ended up. Number 10. Black Panther and the Anaconda. The biggest snakes in the world right now that we know of are anacondas, specifically the green anaconda from South America. It is the largest serpent on our planet, with a length on average of about 23 feet and weighing up to 280 pounds. These snakes live in the rivers and waterways of the Amazon jungle. They swim incredibly fast, and because of their massive appearance and special snake qualities, they can eat just about anything they want. They are the apex predators of the Amazon. There is only one other animal that can really think about challenging even the smallest anaconda. Of course, this is the Black Panther. If you don't believe that a cat could take on an anaconda, you haven't seen the video uploaded just a few years ago that shows the fierce fight between a melanistic jaguar, which is really what a black panther is, and an anaconda. Throughout the video, there's quite a bit of a struggle, but the big cat was far too powerful. It actually managed to get the snake out of the water and onto the land, where it probably ate it for dinner. The snake was trying to wriggle away from the vicious cat, but it just wasn't quick enough. The anaconda may be the biggest snake on the planet, but it's apparently no match for a black panther. Number 9. The olive python. Next up on our list is the incredibly huge olive python, which you can find all throughout the outback in Australia. It's one of the biggest and meanest snakes in the world. So mean, in fact, that one was recently spotted swallowing an Australian freshwater crocodile in the swamps of Mount Isa in Queensland. This was extraordinary. Snake experts know pythons are capable of swallowing creatures larger than them, but these types of pythons typically only eat things like rats, birds, bats, and other small mammals, while their most ambitious meals consist of kangaroos and possums and even porcupines, though spiky porcupines are often a pretty bad decision for any snake. You know, with the spikes and all. The last thing anyone expects for the olive python to actually gobble up is an entire crocodile. GG Wildlife Reserve Inc. recently uploaded the photos on Facebook after discovering what the snake was doing. To be straight, the crocodile really had no chance. This particular olive python was a giant, much larger than your average Australian snake. It was easily over 13 feet in length, with the freshwater crocodile only being about 5 feet from snout to tail. That means there was extra room in the snake's belly for a second crocodile if it felt like trying its luck again. Crocs may be some of the largest and meanest types of reptiles in Australia, but it's no match for a hungry and sly serpent like this. Hey, real quick, if this is the first time you're checking out the channel, thanks for watching. Give this video a like and hit that subscribe button for more videos like these. Number 8. Danger in the Everglades. The Florida Everglades is a pretty terrifying place. Not only is it filled with mosquitoes, giant reptiles with rows of sharp teeth, and plenty of other scary animals, it's also home to some of the biggest Burmese pythons on the planet. These snakes are huge and have been introduced into the Everglades over the years due to neglectful pet owners. The Burmese python originally came from Asia, but because Florida is so similar to its natural habitat, the snake has thrived in the United States. People get these snakes as pets, realize that they are way too big to handle, and abandon them outdoors. Now there are thousands of them breeding in Florida. How big does this snake get? Well, according to Florida Fish and Wildlife, the Burmese python can reach a length of up to 26 feet in its natural habitat, and it can weigh over 200 pounds. However, the average Burmese python in Florida is only between 8 and 10 feet, but that length was demolished recently when a python hunter came across the biggest snake either of them had ever seen before. They were hunting in the Everglades when the huge monster of a snake slithered in front of their path. They quickly scrambled to catch it and were shocked when they found out the python was an incredible 18 feet and 9 inches long and weighing 104 pounds, meaning they had captured the largest Burmese python in Florida history. Number 7. Giant tree snake. Believe it or not, some of the biggest snakes in the world aren't even dangerous. Take the recent story of an Australian reptile catcher who arrived at an industrial site in the small town of Coolum, thinking he was called in to catch a dangerous eastern brown snake. Instead, Stuart Mackenzie found one of the biggest common tree snakes on the planet. And this guy was no stranger to snakes. He owned a local snake removal service, so he had already seen pretty much everything there is to see. Or at least he thought so. The tree snake that he captured from the industrial site ended up being nearly 5 feet long. It had actually disrupted work because the builders thought they were dealing with an extremely venomous snake that could strike and kill at any moment. The eastern brown snake is big, bad, definitely dangerous, and one of the most toxic land snakes on the planet. But the fact that the tree snake was big enough that the workers confused it with the brown snake is wild. Of course, Stuart knew what he was dealing with as soon as he located the creature. The giant tree snake was relocated into the bushes without being harmed, and later on the workers were able to get back to their jobs. According to the man himself, it was the largest tree snake he had ever seen. Number 6. Nightmares in Alabama. Let's move back across the world to the United States, where in 2020, the longest snake in North America was found to be breeding in Alabama for the first time in 46 years. This is the eastern indigo snake. The young snake was likely the result of several different government agencies and universities that have been trying for the past few years to reintroduce the indigo snake into the Conecuh National Forest as part of a conservation effort. Apparently, it's working. But should the government really be introducing these giant nightmare-looking snakes into Alabama? The answer is a definite yes. The eastern indigo snake may be huge and scary, able to reach a length of over 9 feet, but it's not that dangerous. It's a non-venomous snake, meaning it poses absolutely no threats to humans. It's actually a critical part of the local ecosystem, and it's been missing since the 1950s. The eastern indigo snake can still be found in abundance in Florida and South Georgia, but it was on the brink of extinction in Alabama. Hopefully, with these new efforts, the biodiversity of the state can be brought back to life. Number 5. Giant snake invades Walmart. The last place anyone expects to find a giant snake is in Walmart. This incident happened on August the 7th, when a Walmart in Odessa was besieged by a slithering customer who had no intention of buying anything. The giant snake simply wanted to terrorize and possibly eat some of the other customers. It was discovered by store employees while doing a routine walkthrough of the store. They quickly called animal control, who came and took the snake away without harming it, though they never did say what type of snake it was. All we really know is that it was huge. But this wasn't the first time an incident like this happened. According to a report from Newsweek, in 2019, another Texas Walmart was also besieged by a snake. A giant rat snake was found slithering through the parking lot, actively preventing a woman from entering her vehicle. A police officer arrived on the scene and took care of the serpent, allowing the woman to finally get into her truck. It's not really clear what exactly is luring all these snakes to their neighborhood Walmarts, but hopefully somebody gets to the bottom of it soon. Number 4. African rock python. The African rock python is yet another giant type of python. It is the biggest snake in all of Africa, and just a little smaller than its cousin, the Burmese python we talked about earlier. It can be found slithering through South Africa, growing anywhere from 9 to 10 feet in length, though the largest specimens ever recorded have been upwards of 15 feet. Even though it's a bit smaller than the other pythons, this snake is a force to be reckoned with. A large African rock python was recently found eating an entire goat on someone's farm in the Tugela Valley of South Africa. A snake removal company had to be called in to get the giant python off the client's property, but it wasn't an easy job. The handler managed to track down the snake easily enough, but the hard part came from walking over 3 miles back to his vehicle while carrying the 55-pound serpent on his back. To make things even worse, it apparently peed on him during the walk. Not only is the African rock python huge and deadly, but apparently it's a little rude. As for this particularly rude python, it was transported to a local game reserve and then released. The guy that the snake peed on had to drive home without his shirt on. Number 3. 50-foot anaconda. We've all heard the tales of supernaturally large snakes hiding out in the wild. We've already established that the anaconda is the biggest snake in the world, but there are always reports coming in of snakes growing upwards of 50 feet and being captured in a blurry viral video. Of course, these are almost always nonsense. Take for example, a recent video that went viral on Twitter that apparently shows an anaconda with a length of over 50 feet crossing a Brazilian river. The video first surfaced online in 2018, and it definitely seems like there is a huge snake crossing the length of the river, but of course, the claims are false. The video has actually been stretched and manipulated, making the serpent appear far larger than it really is. It also makes the river look ridiculously wide, when in fact it's quite slim. The anaconda was probably only 10 to 12 feet long. Number 2. King of the monsters. 60 million years ago, just after the extinction of the dinosaurs, a monster of a snake slithered around the planet, the Titanoboa. This nightmare of a snake dominated the tropics of South America. According to the fossil evidence discovered in 2009 in Colombia by a team of international scientists, the Titanoboa grew to be about 42 feet long and weighed somewhere around 2,500 pounds. According to paleontologist Jonathan Block, the Titanoboa was even larger than many of the fantasy snakes conceived of by Hollywood, like the snake in the movie Anaconda that tried to eat Jennifer Lopez. Even that fictitious snake was nowhere near as large as the actual Titanoboa. Even though it was so incredibly huge, it apparently only ate a couple times a year. The gargantuan snake would feast on a huge turtle or a prehistoric crocodile, and then just kind of hang out in the river for a few months before it would strike again. Number 1. Snakes in the ceiling. It seems no matter where you go in Australia, you can't escape giant snakes. A man in Australia was recently given the shock of a lifetime when a pair of massive serpents crashed through his kitchen ceiling and nearly gave him a heart attack. He found 2 giant carpet snakes, also known as carpet pythons, when they fell from the ceiling and onto the kitchen floor in his home in Brisbane. Then they slithered off into other rooms. The 2 large snakes had apparently been fighting over a third female snake inside his ceiling. What's truly disturbing is that each of the snakes was around 9 or 10 feet long and weighed upwards of 40 pounds. They were some of the biggest and fattest carpet snakes that the native Australian had ever seen. Luckily, a snake catcher arrived to take care of the situation. He wrangled the 2 large males and relocated them to a state forest where they couldn't do any more harm, but there was a concern because the third snake, the female that the males had been fighting over, was nowhere to be found. The only good news is that carpet pythons aren't generally dangerous, as they have no venom. Still, you definitely don't want to take your chances with any large snake that you find in Australia. According to professional snake catcher Raymond Hoser, if you get bitten by a venomous snake in Australia, you will almost certainly die without treatment. In the case that you are bitten, you should put a bandage on your arm and drive straight to the hospital. Thanks for watching. What's the biggest snake you've ever seen? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.